Disclaimer. This podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended to provide medical advice. It exists only to entertain. In 16th century England, an unusual man wanders into an apothecary shop.
Hello there and welcome to... Oh, no.
Hey man, good to see you again.
But how did you find me? I moved my entire shop from Germany here and yet you found me.
I went to your old shop and you weren't there. So then I went to your house and you weren't there. The landlord said you moved to England, so I came to England.
This is insane. Are you stalking me?
No, I wanted to ask you a favor.
What is it now? Some sort of weird dead thing you want to buy so who knows what you do with it?
I have lots of dead things already. I wanted to see if you could do me a favor as your friend.
Again, we are definitely not friends.
I want to be part of your guild.
What?
Your guild. The one with the apothecaries and the surgeons and the barbers. I want to be a barber. Can you get me into the guild?
Why would you want to be a barber?
Because it's the most brutal profession there is. I want to use knives and razors. I want to bleed people. I want to amputate dead limbs. I always wanted to do those things, and so now I want to be a barber.
Yeah, look. In a strange way, I sort of admire the ambition, but I'm pretty sure you'd need to find a barber to get you into the guild. I am an apothecarist. Just because I share a guild with the barbers doesn't mean I can deputize you as a barber, yeah? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess so. That sucks. I already bought some razors, too. My mom's going to be sad.
Oh, my God. I guess I could at least ask on your behalf. I don't suppose that would hurt.
Would you do that for me?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I'm going to dedicate my band's next song to you.
Yeah, not necessary, really.
I've been practicing my lute. Your song is going to be brutal. I'm going to call it Necropothecary.
Oh, wow. I'm speechless.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, I'll bet you do.
You know, I missed you.
Yeah, I'll bet.
We're friends again.
Yeah, except no, absolutely not.
You're my friend. You're my best friend.
Yeah, no, I don't own that. No,
Best
I don't
friends, it's
accept
locked
it.
in.
Yes, no. Except
All right,
no.
I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah, oh.
Throughout history, it's just facts and there might be me. You gotta listen, you don't have to read. For historians,
Welcome, everyone. This is For Historians, a podcast delving into the archives of medical history. As three emergency physicians, we will explore the unusual ailments, treatments, physicians, and all related material having to do with the healing arts. I'm Max, and I'm joined here by my good friends and colleagues, Aaron and Mike. Gentlemen, are you ready for a hair-raising episode?
Oh, God.
Yes. Well, no. Yes,
I love visual puns with homonyms on a podcast audio.
Yeah, because I spelled raising, R-A-Z-I-N-G, because it's like razor.
Yeah, so it's like a visual.
There's at least 3 levels.
Yeah, 3 levels. Except you don't get the levels unless you read it. So
that was just a wall of sound. Did you guys notice that? It's like there wasn't a spot where there wasn't a word being spoken.
Is
this going to air in November?
Yes.
All right, because I was going to do my Movember. I know, Max, you're like a year-round Movember.
You're saying this month you're going to do Movember? You're going to grow a mustache?
Do every Movember.
Yeah, but then you wimp out and shave it.
I do, yeah. It usually lasts a week. But it's different now because when I was at work, it looked ridiculous. Like, I looked ridiculous. And usually I didn't have a haircut at the time, so I just looked ridiculous.
I remember. So for listeners that have never seen my face, I do have a handlebar mustache. This is what Mike's kind of driving at least to some degree, that we could be twinsies. And I've always advocated for this because about 5 years ago now, my wife was like, you should just grow a mustache. And I never grew any facial hair, and I just don't grow a lot of beard. So I was like, I'll look ridiculous. And I did for about 4 weeks. And then once it started getting longer, a lot of people at work were like, it's okay. And then it got even longer, and now it like curls naturally. And so I basically cannot shave this thing because it has become such a
Your
It
upper lip would
is
look like it's a mile
truly
long.
fabulous.
it's just like one of these things that I had a talent for, and I had no idea until I was like 35. But that being said, if you want to bolster your like self-esteem, if you walk around with this mustache in public, you will get so many unsolicited compliments. I truly do.
I mean, I try to grow a mustache. I just start to look homeless. That's what
And
happens.
we're beard people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
that's
I've grown it out before. I just look more and more homeless, and it's worse and worse as time goes on. That's what happens.
Yeah, and it's called the Max mustache at work because Andy had one, and he was doing the curl and all of that, and he shaved it off because he just couldn't do it. He didn't make that 4-week threshold.
No, it's a commitment. It's a lifestyle, actually.
Yeah. Well, now like you wear a mask at work, so it doesn't really matter, and I can walk around in public and I don't really care.
Right,
So definitely
obviously.
going to do it.
Well, barber puns aside, let's get to shout outs here. So I just want to give another general thank you to a bunch of those of you listening who have taken the time out to write a few more of those reviews. I've been seeing them pop up. It's awesome. More 5 stars. It really helps. So just if that's you and you took your time to go write a review in the last month or so, really appreciate it. So just for all of you that do that, it's awesome. So I also have to dedicate this episode to my awesome barber of 10 years, Autumn. I am a creature of habit. I wandered into her barbershop once when it started, and I decided never to go anywhere else. So she has a shop that's like a very antique aesthetic. It's in a Victorian house. We have antique chairs there, kind of thing. And I have a feeling she's going to get a kick out of this episode. So
Max, does she have kombucha PBR in a turntable? Because
does have PBR.
Really?
Does have PBR.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I'd go there. I'd go there if I had enough hair to cut.
Well, Aaron, would you like to go with the one again?
All right. Well, with that, any other shout outs or announcements, gentlemen?
You always,
No.
we should, Aaron, next time we're going to be prepared.
Yeah, I always say that,
And then we're not.
And then I just manage to keep missing the mark.
Shout out to
It's okay.
humankind. Thank you for existing. Because without you, no, I don't know. I'll come up with something next time.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, gentlemen, let's talk about our topic of the day, and that is the barber-surgeon. Have you heard this term before?
Somewhat, but I'm excited to learn more, Max. I'm excited to learn more.
You've come to the right place. So, yeah, I just decided after kind of reading a bunch of stuff that mentioned this, we got to talk about barbers and surgeons and how something called the barber-surgeon was really a thing. And so the story of the barber-surgeon is one of supply and demand, shaped by cultural forces from within and from without the world of medicine. And I think many people may be aware that there's a link between your favorite or your friendly neighborhood barber and your sometimes friendly but also other times terse on-call surgeon, but you may not know what that link really is. So we're going to talk about it, and I definitely will mention the barber's pole at some point, so don't worry, it'll be there. But
Nice. How do you tell the difference between a friendly and a terse surgeon?
I don't know.
It's not a joke. I'm just actually asking. I'm actually asking.
That sounded like a
We
joke.
all have our
Aaron.
moments.
One brief nod. Yeah, I know. It started like a joke. I'm like, no. I just actually want to know. Poor surgeons. They probably get so much. Oh, I always feel like I'm getting yelled at by my dad with some surgeons, even when they're just talking to me. Like, I'm sorry. Not all.
Been there. So as long as people have had hair, they've wanted someone to cut it. And barbers as an occupation are mentioned in accounts from ancient Egypt, where aristocratic men and women would wear wigs and they shave their bodies as matters of custom. So you had to have somebody who can help with those things, maintain the wig, shape the body, that sort of thing. And those initial barbers were described as servants, really, to the wealthy and the royals. But sort of over time, they would go on to start offering their services to the public and whatnot. And the ancient Greeks, like Alex the Great there, urged soldiers to cut their hair, shave their beards prior to battle, having to employ a bunch of barbers to do so. And it was suggested in the articles I read that they did this for strategic reasons, but I'm not really sure what that means. And, if you're freshly shaven, are you better at swinging a
Maybe
sword?
run faster, swim faster. If there was water.
They'd grab,
so.
probably the other people would grab their
Ooh,
beards.
beard grabbers.
Okay.
Can't grab a smooth face.
You can.
That's
the two
that's
hands.
the most
like
logical
this.
explanation.
Grab the smooth face.
Who's got the little baby cheeks? Who does?
I'm gonna
Oh
run
my
my
gosh.
longsword through you. Oh, you're so cute.
Oh God.
There's
Well,
the-
no, I didn't mean it like that. I meant actual sword.
Mm,
Still baby
Well,
killing.
so there are
I wasn't a
mentions.
baby. I was talking to the soldiers.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that.
There are mentions of barbers having a broad role within ancient Chinese and even Native American cultures as well, including the performance of some medical procedures. So this whole idea of the blurring the lines between your barber and your medical professional actually is probably pretty ancient. And in some of the other cultures that I had already mentioned, like Egypt and Greece, there was mention that they were doing some associated kind of medical or paramedical tasks. So this goes way back. And in so many of these accounts, though the primary function of those barbers was hair related at the time, it wasn't long before people with steady hands and all the sharp knives were asked to do a little bit more than just take some hair off the top, right? So here we're going to do a deeper dive into the European roots of the barber-surgeon, because that's where a lot of the literature centers. But it's definitely important to remember that barbers doing surgical procedures was a whole worldwide, culturally diverse phenomenon. And so...
Do you think that's why surgeons still shave people? Like now, that's the last vestige of...
Actually, there's something to that.
But okay, so the primary was haircutting, or was the haircutting a way to like make money in between surgeries?
Yes to both. It actually is. The answer is yes to both. That's foreshadowing, or you read ahead? Did you read ahead?
Foreshadowing. No, that was just me asking a very thoughtful question, and I'm full of those, Max. And thank you. I want to be a
like he
valued
normally
member of
does.
this team.
Yeah, I'd appreciate you not like just being mean to. I mean, he brings a lot of intellectual
I do.
heft to this group, and
Yeah, but
it's
what
time
about
you
doxing
recognize
him?
it.
What about what? Oh,
What about doxing?
oh, damn it!
Making more work for me.
Oh, that was just you. The beep. Can you beep it? Can you bleep
It's
it?
a good thing I do pay attention. All right, so let's talk about barbers, surgeons, and physicians. So much of the evolution of the term barber surgeon seems to be rooted in the difficulty in deciding kind of what one person's job description is, really. So today we can define what makes a barber different from a surgeon or physician, but in the Middle Ages in Europe, those lines were really blurred, and they were blurred for a variety of reasons. So we're going to try to sort out the roles of the medieval barbers, the surgeons, and the physicians, and try to figure out where this barber-surgeon hyphenated title basically comes from. In medieval Europe during the 11th century, barbers were more notably confined to the hair-related tasks. And one thing that's mentioned a lot here is that they would give the monks those totally sweet monk-style haircuts that are still very much in style.
Wait, did they shave the center circle thing?
Yep. Yep.
Why?
That was a thing.
Why?
I didn't look into the why. I assume there's a spiritual.
Like it's a
or
halo.
religious
It's a hair halo.
Is that something like? I'm sure there's something.
Yeah,
to
or maybe
it, but
like your soul can ascend through the skull cap, but not if there's hair there.
it's not aesthetically pleasing.
Oh yeah, maybe it was to turn women off, like so they could stay celibate.
That's as plausible as any other explanation, I would imagine. We think of physician and surgeon as interchangeable terms now, and they pretty much are now, but back then it wasn't really the case. So let's kind of start with the physician's camp. Now, this must have been a kind of a nice gig in many respects because physicians in the medieval periods held a really high place in society. They catered to aristocrats, royalty, all the wealthy merchants and individuals, etc. And that was kind of their exclusive clientele. They did not really provide a lot of care for the poorer peasant classes at all. So they basically got to be the high learned people thanks to their love of the ancient Greek medical texts, which we certainly talked about a little bit in the last episode. But now we know that those were largely based on pretty much silly, non-scientific concepts, So those physicians, nevertheless, knew Galen and the humors in that area of Greek medicine like the back of their hands, and they used that knowledge to mostly not really actually help people, and in a lot of cases did more harm than good. But they got paid well for it, and they got to hang out with the wealthiest classes. So there's that. But the funny part is they didn't really get their hands dirty all that much. In fact, it was almost forbidden to examine patients. It was considered beneath, actually beneath the class. And even the Hippocratic Oath actually forbid doctors from performing certain procedures and tasks like surgery for kidney stones, bladder stones, and gallstones. It actually forbid it. That was for somebody else to do. So these type of things were considered to be, beneath the physician's station because they specialize in knowing nonsense. And applying all that erroneous knowledge in a hands-off manner was kind of the way that they did their business. Though they might recommend silly things like endless bloodletting and balancing of the humors, the medieval physician was pretty much loath to actually stoop to getting their hands dirty. And like I said, not really doing exams, not really using, knives and scalpels and doing procedure.
I like this role. This actually is like, I can get behind that.
Let's go back.
Mhm.
Let's go back.
So now there were also surgeons at that time, but they weren't really trained in the same circles as physicians of the day. Surgeons were not really well regarded in the early what period is this? So surgeons were not really well regarded through kind of like most of the Renaissance and just before that. It really wasn't until the last couple of centuries as we know them that surgeons became a laudable career. That being said, the surgeons of the day might use a knife or two here and there, but would be able to pick and choose what sorts of operations and procedures they would do. And while physicians were catering to the wealthy, surgeons were actually the ones usually taking care of the lower classes. So, point on that scale is definitely in their favor. And during the medieval period, as ever, there were way more people in need of medical care in the lower classes than there were aristocrats, just by sheer numbers. So even if surgeons would, get down and dirty with certain procedures, there was a huge demand for those type of services and not enough surgeons to go around. So here we go in return to the barbers of the day who, thanks to all those sharp tools that they were very good at using, would basically gradually be asked to do more and more non-haircutting stuff and to put those tools to use. So if you had a boil or a laceration back then, you would be more likely to visit a barber to have it taken care of. It was typically way cheaper. There was more of them. And forget asking a physician to do it, obviously. So from the 11th to the 18th centuries, the role of the barber-surgeon evolved and was actually even legitimized in the House of Medicine.
Now, are
during
all
that time.
barbers surgeons then? Or are there some barbers who are just like, I only do hair?
Good question. I did not see that breakdown in the things that I was reading. There were definitely, through some of the signages, and it does have to do with the barber's pole, they could kind of advertise what services they were performing that day. So I'm sure there was a degree of that, but it sure seemed like your average barber could do some crazy surgery stuff. It was my impression.
I like how physicians are essentially absolutely useless in every regard. That they do absolutely. Leave it to the witches and the surgeon barbers if you actually want to get taken care of.
I mean, there's definitely
man.
There's definitely truth to that. And here's the other thing, like the physicians of the day may say, we need to bleed you. Your humors are out of whack. I'm not bleeding you. Go see a surgeon. Go see a barber surgeon. You know what I mean? It's sort of that was a very common practice. So with this, the scope of practice, which is the term we use nowadays for the types of procedures a given physician or surgeon is basically legally able to perform, or expected to perform at least, was extremely generous for the barber surgeons back in the day. They had a huge list of things they could do in addition to giving a haircut or a shave. And that list included things like the care of burns, the treatment and closure of wounds and lacerations. Yep, they would definitely use needle and thread and put wounds back together. They had orthopedic duties, including bone setting and dislocation reductions, and this is obviously without any x-rays or anything like that, and certainly no anesthesia. They were not above a little journeyman neurosurgery either, because they might be the ones doing trepanation, where you put the hole through the skull and drill into it. It might be a barber doing that for you, or a barber surgeon, as it were. And they performed amputations of various limbs, as well as, and doing this a lot, especially during wartime, where a lot of them learned a lot of these skills.
Gosh, it'd be such a great job. This happened to me once. We had a really busy shift, and I remember I came down and there were tons of procedures and patients that needed to be, procedures that need to be done.
Mhm.
And the trauma surgeon who was on at the time, they're like, just go do whatever needs to be done and don't worry about anything else. And I was like a little kid in a candy store. I'm going to put a line in here and I'll do this and I'll do that. And I didn't have to know things about a patient. Just go,
that's why
just go
residency
do the
was
things.
Go do
good.
the
You didn't really think about the extra stuff.
Yeah, it's so great. So wonderful. Yeah, so wonderful.
Well,
I really want to do
I wonder
that
if going
again.
back, so like, could you sue your barber for malpractice if you got a bad haircut?
I don't. Yes, I think so. Yeah, I do think so.
Oh.
And we're not even done with that list. So there were midwives, but that being said, barber surgeons might actually be the ones delivering babies because, they do everything else. Why wouldn't they be comfortable doing that? You might not think of calling your barber for a toothache either, but barber surgeons were frequently the go-to for, quote, tooth drawing, or just basically the removal of teeth. So, they're not cleaning your teeth, but hey, that tooth hurts, it's rotten. They're going to pull it out. And they were comfortable doing so. And finally, their other tasks included, your bloodletting and leech putting on and that sort of thing.
It's still it's a weird carve out now that we're not allowed to touch teeth. It's,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Nowadays, it's, especially from an emergency standpoint, it is, painful teeth. We do what we can, but we don't pull them out.
Yeah. And we're not even allowed to. Like it's specifically carved out. And I feel kind of bad because there's a lot of folks who are like, oh, that's a tooth. I could just,
I don't know though.
Right there.
There are plenty of YouTube videos show you that you can pull out your own teeth. There's no law that says you can't.
Jeez Louise.
There's a law saying we can't pull out your teeth,
You would-
but not.
Well, see, Mike, you've been conditioned that way though, right? Like it'd be, think of the other things we do.
I know, but just like rife with potential complicate. Let's say a tooth fractures. Like, how are you going to go after it? You don't have that kind of training that a dentist would have.
Well, I mean, dentists, obviously we would need more training, right? I'm not just saying that we should now, with no training whatsoever, start pulling teeth. But like, why is that carved out?
I don't know. You know what? It's funny because when I'm a very visual person, as I've said, I think a couple times on the podcast, and I'm picturing, I'm picturing, like sport clips when, like when these, like you're describing these procedures, like you get the warm towel and then your sport clips lady cuts open your butt boil while she's giving your haircut. Like I'm trying to picture this in the time. Do you think there would have been like an outdoor chair? Like, what are they doing this in?
I did not come across those specifics, but I imagine it's probably a shop because they would hang a sign outside, etc. So I'm sure and a lot of the pictures that I saw for this seem to be in a shop.
Pictures?
Or paintings, so I'm going to say it's in a shop.
Drawings.
Well,
like in medieval London, I think one of our past episodes, there was an actual place that had like a chute down to a basement where they remember, because they had the barber that killed people and then shoved them down a chute.
I did investigate. You're talking about Sweeney Todd.
No.
I actually did look into that because I was like, I wonder if I should include this. And it's just a play. It's not a thing. There was a little bit of, you did in the Hotel Dieu episode get into a possible legend in the French streets about that. But
French
Sweeney Todd is very much a fictional story. I wanted it to be true. Don't get me wrong. I really did look.
Dear listeners, I really remember everything I said on the podcast.
You just misremembering.
I was poor. Yeah.
Hello, gentlemen. Speaking of leeches and bloodletting, I have tuned the time portal to view an actual instance of this practice. Would you like me to bring it on screen?
Oh, definitely. Let's see what you found.
Hello there. How may I help you today?
I'm here for a shave and a cut, if you please.
Sure thing. Have a seat right here. Wait. Let me move my leeches real quick. There you go. All clear. Have a seat.
Right, thanks.
Now, what are we going to do with all this hair today?
A little off the top is all.
And would you like your mustache straight or curled today?
We'll go English, mate. That curled business is way too edgy for me.
Right. Straight it is. All right, and comfy?
Yeah, quite.
Good. I say, what's this growth on the back of your neck?
Oh, it's a boil. It's been there for a few days.
Oh, quite the pain in the neck, I imagine. Want me to take care of that as well?
Sure, why not? I'm here, ain't I? Oh, man, that hurt. I can feel the blood running down the back of my neck.
Oh, hang on a mo. I'll pack that with some leeches. There you go. It's all stopped up.
It's an unsettling feeling, eh? With all those leeches in there. Is that how they're supposed to be used?
Hold on, I'm the barber here. I think I know a thing or two about what to do with leeches.
Right. Fair enough.
I can't help but notice you're looking a bit ruddy today. You sure you haven't got too much blood in your system? I can let a little bit out if you'd like. I got me plenty of leeches right here.
No, thanks, mate. I think I've lost enough for today. Appreciate it, though.
Right. Just thought I'd offer. It's a shame to waste a good leeching opportunity, they always say. That's what my grandfather said.
He did?
Oh, yeah. A leech man himself. Ran a leech farm out in the country.
Yeah, mate, that doesn't sound like a real thing.
Oh, sure was. Had the best leeches you ever saw. Black and glistening and wriggly. So many teeth. Oh, hey there, you got one trying to run away from that room. Get back in there, Mr. Wiggles.
I'm suddenly feeling faint. Is the haircut going to take a while?
Yeah, probably. To be honest, I've been busy doing non-hair stuff these days. I'm not as fast at the old haircuts as I used to be. So many people looking to be bloodlet, have their leg amputated and whatnot. I'm good at that stuff. I almost forgot how to cut hair from time to time, huh?
I don't find that very comforting.
Oh, I don't blame you. I almost forgot to ask. Well, would you like any product in your hair today?
Is the product more leeches?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, then no.
You're lost, mate.
Is it, though?
I don't know anymore, to be honest.
Sir, barber, sir, we need you quickly. My wife is about to give birth. Oh, here.
I'll be right there with some leeches. Sorry, my good man. Duty calls.
Oh, I completely understand.
Don't go running away on me now.
I might, honestly.
That seemed a little off, computer. Are you sure that was authentic?
Yes.
Yeah, good enough for me. Anywho, where was I?
You were talking about the multitude of procedures that barber-surgeons used to perform?
That's right. All right. Well, doing all those procedures is a lot to ask of your barber surgeon, but it appears that they were the answer for so many of those people in those lower classes of European society at the time who needed medical and surgical care. And as the barber surgeons rose in prominence, it's perhaps not surprising that they and the physicians and surgeons they were competing with started to cause some good old-fashioned professional friction. Could you imagine?
When there's all that money on the line, man. Just chasing them bills.
All that sweet leech money.
Was it quid?
I remember the only thing I remember about friction is fun from physics. Because what is it? F mu normal?
The coefficient of friction?
And
I
the
mean,
force,
there's a friction
the
coefficient.
mu. Well, yeah, that's what you do with the friction coefficient.
It's the coefficient of
F
friction.
and the N.
Thank you. This is the way we physicists talk about it.
Friction coefficient.
Physics jokes. Listeners are here for physics jokes.
Hey, man, everyone's going to remember friction is fun now. They're just going to have to look it up to explain it. They probably already know it. Everybody knows the normal force.
Let's talk about the barber surgeon legitimacy on the rise. So, looking at the evolution of the barber surgeon amidst that of the physician and surgeon across all those numerous centuries, again, from the 13th century to the 19th century is kind of where this is all taking place. While physicians began to have some sort of accreditation process from the universities in the 15th century onward, the barber surgeon as a recognized entity kind of actually occurred a few centuries before that. And the headbutting between barbers and surgeons kind of begins around then as well. In the year 1210 at Saint Côme, which is French, and I looked it up, it is C-O-M-E and pronounced comb, like comb your hair, which is just a delightful pun, and I think it's funnier if I explain it.
You ruined it, Max. I was laughing.
You're all over the homonym puns this episode. They work so well in an auditory medium. Just chef's kiss. It's priceless.
Chef's
Thank you, Aaron.
Butterfly kisses.
So at Saint Côme in France, a special college was formed, and in that year. So here, doctors were, and we'll kind of go with these were the more physician class. They were trained and assigned robes based on their perceived level of expertise. Okay, so there were long robes and short robes. And if you were given a long robe, you, as a physician in training, were believed to be much more experienced than your colleagues and required less training. And therefore, you were able to perform surgical procedures, which this is very early in that period I was talking about. So some of them were done by physicians before they really ensconced themselves in the ivory tower and didn't want to do those procedures. So if you were given a short robe, you were required to pass a certification test to even ascend to the previous where the long-robed physicians had even started. And this caused a lot of tension between those two ranks, right?
It's so funny that
right,
goes
and
all
it's
the way
still a
back to
thing.
the
I mean, people
12th
that
century.
are non
Yeah, short coats. We talk about the short coats as like medical students all get a short white coat, so you know not to trust them, right?
Basically, yeah, medicine is all about showing how much you've achieved by the size of your coat or the length of your coat. It's just
yeah.
And the size, that means you're well fed.
Yeah.
That's it. Well,
I
fair,
do remember,
fair.
man, like second year when I needed, like a second year residency is a tricky time because like you're building confidence and then you have too much often in second year. But I remember wearing that long coat and like just walking down the hall, like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And I really didn't, but.
And honestly, Aaron, I think at that time you were the smartest that you'll ever be, but you're also the least experienced that you'd ever be. You knew the medicine inside and out. You just didn't know how to apply it.
Yeah. Well, and all I did was just work. So like you get in a groove, but yeah, also you're still protected by your attending. So you have no fear. You're like, I'm just going to do this thing I know how to do.
Before you graduate.
Well, and I mean, I remember like when we were all medical students, and you get this like little short coat, like
kind of
ends at your waist.
Kind of humiliating.
It's really short.
It's not meant to be, but it's
full of
really
stuff.
Yeah.
It's really
you're
short.
wandering around the hospital and people can see you, and they're like, "Oh, look at all these people with long coats." And then why do you have like they stop making your coat prematurely? That's because you're a medical student. You're learning, and you can't help it. It's just that's the
and your
uniform,
pockets are stuffed full of things. Like you need all these books to look stuff up all the time. You got to.
They should make it even more ridiculous. Like make the sleeves really short too, like halfway up your arm.
They should.
I still wear that. I actually am a little disappointed we moved away from robes. How amazing
would be nice because sometimes you get
medical robes.
Yeah, it's a real long velvet. Yeah,
absolutely. In my head, I'm picturing capes.
Ooh, that could be once you get to like the Grand Maester status.
Yeah. I mean, a good open, long coat as you're walking.
Because you don't need pockets. All the information is in your head. No more pockets are needed. I just need a cape.
That's right. I know everything.
I carry a staff too. Anyway, outside of this formal education, barbers were performing procedures, as mentioned previously, out of pure demand from folks who need it, right? So the short-robed docs and physicians formed an alliance with barber-surgeons who were not part of that school at the time. And basically they would teach them anatomy in exchange for their allegiance to the short-robed physicians in like the House of Medicine and in public affairs. And this like formal alliance actually went from 1210 to 1499. So just to kind of recap here, all these short-robed doctors who are angry at the long-robed doctors, and these are all kind of like physician class. The short robers are like, hey, these people in the community, the barber surgeons they're doing stuff. If we kind of get to be friends with them, maybe they'll teach us some stuff. Let's teach them some anatomy, and then we'll get some skills.
You got to know there was like beef in the plazas. There's like,
gosh, can you imagine
a bunch of long robes walking around, and then they just see a group of short coats and the surgeons or the oh man.
Well, and definitely a lot of the articles described that a lot of the long robed physicians definitely held this over the short robed colleagues. They were just like, no,
what was stopping them from just wearing longer robes?
Decorum, Mike.
Mr. Smith, I feel your presentation is a bit short on the details.
Caring for somebody in the street, and they're like, oh, look, there's a long robe there. And then he stands up and it's short, like, get him!
Do you think there was definitely like those students at the time, or it's sort of like their students or residents? It's not really clear, but they actually would like go get a cup of coffee in their long robe.
Oh, they did. Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, they go down and be like, oh, I'm sorry. It's hard to carry my order with this long flowing robe. It goes all the way to the ground. Yeah, they did.
I wouldn't even go into places with scrubs on. I'll make sure that I've got like my top up.
No. Yeah, all you people that go to Starbucks in your scrubs, we see you, and we have scrubs too, and we manage to not wear them in public.
We actually might get hate mail on that one. Let's let that happen. I like it.
But sometimes
bring it on, man. That's just
if I have the ability to not. Let's say I'm going into work and I'm going to go get a coffee or something like that. Like I'm not going to change out of my scrubs to go in. But if I do go into a store, I'll often take the top off. I know, but like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fair. Okay, so that's like a compromise, right? If you just have scrub bottoms, but you're in a normal top, at least you're, I don't know. I still think it's gauche. And
gauche. I love that word.
Good word. Anyway, but several things happened to raise the social status of barber surgeons in and around Europe during that time. So later in the 13th century of France, laws were actually passed preventing physicians from performing surgery at all. So you got their whiz. Now you can't do surgery. So now you have to just think about Greek medicine and,
You
misapply
just balance
concepts.
the humors and I'll be over here.
So at that point, physicians of the time, they basically cede all those bloody tasks to them, so that not only because they're not able to do them, but it's also a way for them to kind of stifle the people who are training as surgeons as like the separate class. The physicians could say, you know what? No, the barber surgeons can already do that. So why do we even need regular surgeons? And so there was a lot of this infighting that they were trying to delegitimize surgeons. And they were using the barber surgeons who were like, hey, they can do everything you're doing. Why do we need you? And this was a whole thing for centuries. So the number of barber surgeons at this time continues to increase, so that in fact by 1371 in France, there were apparently more barber surgeons than so-called master surgeons, kind of the pure surgeons term. And subsequently, the French king actually proclaims that his barber is head of all the barbers and the surgeons in France. So big win for the barber surgeons in France at that time. I'm sure that was well received by the surgeons who now had their barber bosses.
Yeah, right. And everybody looked like monks.
Man.
Like, this is still a thing? All right.
And the interesting thing is I read multiple articles about this. One thing that's kind of lost in this mix here is like, what did the surgeons do back in that time? And it's not really clear. Basically, the best I can cobble together is they could do these procedures, but they would just do them very infrequently, or they would pick and choose. And I only do these, procedures, and I'm not doing anything else. So the barber surgeons were like, oh, we don't care. We'll do whatever. And I think that's why they were so much more prominent than what we think of as a surgeon today. So in other places in Europe, they were legitimizing the practice of the barber surgeons as well. So in 1308, King Edward II of England basically gave the barbers guild status. And in 1375, the guild separates into two roles, surgeons and those who are barbers only. And so apparently the surgeon's apprenticeship at the time actually started with learning how to give a good shave. So there you go. And it's definitely something
that's what you do before surgery.
Yep, absolutely. But, hey, it's a practical skill, right? So I think I learned to write notes or something in my first year of medical clerkship, and that seems like such a less practical skill. Learning to give a good shave seems way more practical than learning to write notes that nobody's going to read.
Agreed.
Yeah, there you go. That's fair.
But later, during the reign of James VI over Scotland, which took place between 1566 and 1625, the apothecaries, the surgeons, the barbers, and the barber surgeons were all united under one charter. And basically, the barber surgeons outnumbered them all.
They're like, okay, you have to pick one of the people inside the organization if you want full coverage. If you go to an apothecary that's outside a network.
This is like convergent evolution, because I'm sure each one of them practiced medicine in their own way. And you could select, like, I want to go to the apothecary because I'll probably be treated with medicine, or I'm going to go to the surgeon. Like, they all ultimately came together under one banner.
I think the surgeons consulted the apothecaries to verify their meds,
maybe
their potions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who knows?
No.
Maybe they wrote scripts for it.
But that being said,
like a couple doses of witch hazel. Stop saying
that being said,
that was not said.
Awkward pause.
So throughout these centuries, there were plenty of wars to stoke the need for barber surgeon services and to basically train them as well. And there were like a lot of wars and a few prominent campaigns. Lots of wars.
What?
Real wars. But a few prominent campaigns that were mentioned in these articles were like Henry V versus France in 1415, and especially the 30 Years' War from 1618 to 1648,
Jesus.
Which I wanted to write who was fighting who, but it's literally everybody in Europe fighting everybody in Europe in a system of tangled alliances that had a gigantic table.
Is that where Risk came from?
Yeah, I was like, okay, we're just going to move past it. Yes, I believe
Probably.
so. Absolutely true.
I thought it was Game of Thorns.
So, barbers.
I don't even know why I said that.
Nice.
It's dumb. Even though I watched Game of Thorns, it was really good.
Up until the end.
The end was not really good.
But barbers definitely did a lot of amputations, wound care, suturing, and whatnot during those times. To your point earlier, Mike, in peacetime, they'd go back to the barbershop and they'd earn cash that way. I mean, they'd do some procedures, but, cutting hair and stuff was still a good way to continue your income. So it was sort of a a back and forth role. And, the fun thing here is that like some of these barber surgeons get really good at these surgical procedures and become recognized for it kind of on a wider scale. One of them was a French barber surgeon named Ambrose Paré. Ambroise?
I don't think you...
How do I pronounce that, Mike?
No, you just say
Ambroise
Paré. Like that's French for Ambroise Paré.
Yeah, that guy. Who is mentioned as a, quote, father of modern surgery. I don't know how many of those there are, but he's apparently one of them. He was a barber surgeon apprentice at the Hotel Dieu. Nice callback to our previous episode so long ago. And there he actually learned anatomy and surgery in 1537.
Crazy.
So Paré becomes an army surgeon, and by 1552, he's actually a surgeon to the king. So he kind of transcends from like barber surgeon to surgeon. And one article lists his accomplishments as including some of the following. They literally wrote, use of ointment of egg yolk, oil of roses, and turpentine for war wounds instead of boiling water or boiling oil and cauterization. It's listed as an accomplishment. I just don't know why that's an accomplishment.
At least you're not charring the wound, I guess.
But you're mixing organic material into it. And turpentine.
Yeah, I feel like when they try to fix these people at the end, they just put their hands and they're like, ta-da! Like, they're fixed. Get them out of here. They can go die in the corner.
Well, that being said, he actually did do some things. So he did, however, start the practice of ligating arteries rather than burning them away, which apparently is what they would do sometimes. So ligating meaning tying them off, right? And trying to stop them from spraying everywhere and not damaging them as if you can. He did some implantation of teeth and developed some artificial limbs and prosthetics, including prosthetic eyes, which were like made of gold and silver and porcelain at the time. So he actually did some stuff as from starting as a barber surgeon.
Good job. He invented a gold marble
that you could shove in your skull.
Job,
absolutely.
His slow clap. Nicely done. Ambroise Paré.
Way to go there, buddy. You invented a ball of gold.
What about this then? He also popularized the use of hernia belts. That's pretty sweet. Right?
Sure.
Okay. Well, he apparently invented several surgical and scientific instruments. I couldn't find the specifics on which ones. And apparently he was the first to suggest that syphilis was a cause of aneurysms, which he was right. Aneurysms of like the aortic root, which is like when the syphilis has been hanging out in your body for like several decades, and then it goes and causes inflammation in the aorta right as it comes out of the heart and it swells up. And he was the first that said, I think those two things are related. And he, again, was right. We don't see a lot of that anymore because of antibiotics. But
yeah, I shouldn't. Yeah, I've invented exactly zero things.
Are we taking back our slow clap of Ambroise Paré?
Yeah, I shouldn't. Good job, Ambroise.
You did great, kid. You did great.
Well, eventually the barber surgeons have to fade away, right? So as surgeons in the 18th century begin to gain recognition and legitimacy as a profession, the need for those barber surgeons starts to wane. In France, King Louis XIV began to put more faith in his surgeons. And I'll refer you back to episode 26, Mike's discussion of royal colorectal surgery origins.
It is a great one. It's a classic.
He was a believer. And so he said, you know what? I think I'm going to go with surgery as the winning class here. And ultimately his successor, Louis XV, established multiple chairs of surgery at St. Côme. And by 1743, the barbers of France are basically forbidden to perform surgery. Now just barbers, no longer barber surgeons at that point, at least in France. A few years later, however, in England, barbers and surgeons were also then separated into distinct professions. And by 1800, the guild, formerly including barber surgeons, basically became the Royal College of Surgeons, leaving barbers to return to their prior role in haircutting and cosmesis.
Interesting.
I like cosmesis is a fun word. I like that word.
That's a good word.
So I haven't forgotten. We can't leave out the barber polls, right? We got to talk about a barber's poll. So let's finish it up there. Aaron,
Sorry.
Really?
Yeah, I tried to turn away from the microphone, but yeah, he's couldn't.
So we talked about bloodletting as being a part of their practice, right, for the barber surgeons. So their symbol became this red and white pole with the circular lines. This is believed to symbolize blood in bandages and was typically topped with a brass basin, which was kind of the vessel they used to use to catch the blood when they were, draining it from people unnecessarily. Patients would also grab a staff or a bowl, and the bloodletting would often happen from an arm, and you'd squeeze the bowl with your hand and get more blood flow or whatever. And so the pole, wrapped in bandages and blood, it became their symbol. And there's also a thought that the way that the colors are wrapped around the pole was meant to be a play off the staff of Asclepius, which is that snake and staff that you see. When you see the snake and two snakes and a staff, that's not the original Greek symbol.
Yeah, isn't that? No, that's based on treatment of dracunculus infections, isn't it?
That was a fake word.
No, it's a parasitic infection that you would treat like putting a stick. You wrap the parasite around the stick and twist it. So the dracunculus, that's that symbol.
I don't know if you're right now. I'll have to look it up.
I know that I'm right.
Dracunculus.
Okay. Anyway, you're really getting lost in the weeds here. So while Aaron's fact checking this live, this barber's pole dates back to the Middle Ages and actually has some variations.
He's so correct.
You didn't know
I
that?
never knew dracunculiasis. It's a guinea worm.
Yeah, so the caduceus is the method of removal of a dracunculus.
But
nice.
the double snake, that's the
so it is one snake on mine. Okay. There's two snakes. That's clearly a barber's pole.
The most traditional version of it should have one snake, is all I'm saying. I'm a pedant, Mike.
I don't even know what that means.
In Renaissance Amsterdam, the pole and colors were kind of used to signal what services the barber was prepared to do for the day. So if they were going to bleed patients, it would have predominant red color. If they were going to set bones or pull teeth, they would add the white color. And if they were just there to give a shave, but there was no real urgent other medical needs, it was blue. So the blue on the barber's pole is also very much a U.S. thing too. Like U.S. poles are typically going to feature a blue color because America. And some suspect, however, that there may have been some times when it was used to kind of symbolize the blue blood of the veins, but I didn't find a lot of supporting data there. And wouldn't you know it, there's also like controversy about whether barbers alone should be able to display the barber's pole to this day, like legal battles and screaming fights about this as recently as like the last 10 years. And so the whole argument falls on barbers on one side basically arguing that the symbol is theirs, given the long history that we just basically talked about. And other folks like cosmetologists or beauticians have argued that, hey, look, we cut hair. I don't understand. And we specifically cut men's hair, which there's some of that association with barbering. Hey, why can't we use the symbol? And barbers point out that, hey, some of the cosmetologists and beauticians can't even legally use razors. So it's our pole. And I have not formed an opinion on the matter, but I will certainly ask my barber if she has one next time I visit.
But some cosmetologists could use lasers. So why don't they just do like a lightning bolt or something?
Ooh, sweet. Oh, and they have like a lightsaber in there.
Cool. This is cool.
Yeah, it glows when they're ready to deploy the laser.
Yeah.
Yes. Just think about it.
This is really important because this is absolutely how I decide how to cut my hair. I drive around and look for a pole.
You're like, oh, that one's got blue on it. They're ready. Knock, knock, knock. Ready for my shave and my cut.
Well, hey, there you have it. So next time I'm in my barber's chair and she's wielding the straight razor close to my jugular veins, I will have a new appreciation for the roots of her profession because they're pretty close to our own.
Nice.
She does use a straight razor.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've never been nicked either. It's impressive.
But you have to be certified to do that then, or is that a state licensure thing?
So apparently it's a state-to-state thing where some states will say like, whoever wants to use a razor, go for it. But some states are like, nope, you have to be a trained barber to use razors in XYZ manner.
That makes sense. So they have to like document their fatalities too if they do nick your jugular?
Probably. I'm going to ask if they carry a malpractice. Whoop. That thing, if that razor is so sharp. It is impressive. Whoop. Lost a little blood there. Well, with that, that's all we have time for today. So we appreciate everyone listening, and we'd love to hear from all of you out there. If you'd like to send us a message or provide feedback, we can be reached through our website, www.poorhistorianspod.com, and there you will find links to our social media sites. We take emails at poorhistorianspod@gmail.com, and we work to respond to all posts on various social media accounts. If you have time, please go and leave us a nice 5-star review on iTunes or whichever platform you choose. Every single one of those helps raise the show's profile, and we see you when you do it, and we really appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show in other ways, check out our Poor Historians merchandise, including t-shirts and mugs. Go over to the website, and you'll find all that stuff there. But hey, you're old-fashioned, write us a poem, and I'll make Mike do a dramatic reading of it on an upcoming show.
You can't make me do it.
But until next time, the Poor Historians are sending out AMA. Well, we know who's going to be who. There's only 2 people here.
I will be room noise.
All right. I'll put the computer noise in here. And I believe we need, there's a man, there's a barber, and there's some guy who's going to kick in the door and be like, we need you right away.
I'll do whatever. I'm just a journeyman.
So there's 3.
Need some Brits.
Hello there.
I'm here for a shave and a cat, if you please.
That's perfect.
Okay,
All
now you're dialed in. Okay, door jingle.
Right. Oh, man, that it. I got... Oi, man, that it. Man. No, you can't.
I can make you do it.
How?
I'll trick you into doing it.
Nice.
Or right into a script.
Put it in the script.
Right into a script.
Like Ron Burgundy it, reading it. Go!
I just want to know if somebody
God, I'll read it.
I'll be thrilled.
Dramatically. I'm not really that good of a dramatic reader.
Read it, but I would appreciate
I'm more of a
if you read
skimmer.
it. Oh, this is too long. Mike, it's a haiku.
There you go. You do that.
Wait, was that just a haiku that you said?
All right.
No, it wasn't long enough.
Oh, he's not that good.
I'm not going to try that. I'm not going to calculate that all.